In this video, I'm going to be talking about a time-gated RAG implementation. Let's start with what exactly is RAG. RAG stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation. Retrieval Augmented Generation is a way to remove some of the hallucinations by grounding the responses to a specific corpus of information. In the case of chat, especially when a chat is specific to a context, it makes the most sense to use Retrieval Augmented Generation. Typically, there are two phases, the preparation phase and the runtime phase, as shown on this slide, and each consists of several steps within. I'd like to introduce this thing called the time-gated RAG. Typically in a chat session, which can be quite long, the context window just keeps growing larger if you just stack in everything into the context window, and that applies a higher cost. To reduce the cost, we want to keep the most recent chat as is, but we want to summarize all the older chats. In this example, where we are doing this time-gated RAG with a PDF, we want the user to upload a file. The file gets uploaded, it gets parsed, and then it gets chunked, and there's vector embedding done on it, and then it's stored in a vector database. In the runtime phase, as the user's questions come in, the older chats get summarized and stored away in Firestore. The semantically similar documents get fetched from Quadrant, and then the older chats, the summary of them gets fetched, and finally you get everything put together into the context. The entire context is then sent to the LLM, which responds, and that response is then cached. To put together such a demo, we first start with the code, validate the code locally while we're still using Quadrant and Redis for the caching, and then we build a Docker image once we're ready, validate it locally on Docker desktop, build the Docker image in the cloud, create all the service accounts needed, and then finally get it running with Cloud Run. To test it, we want to test it with the most recent One Big Beautiful Bill Act that was passed in Congress. Since I'm a musician, I was curious about what kind of tax benefits may be there in that bill. And it's a pretty large bill, so it's a good use case to understand what's going on in there. So let's look at the demo. As you can see, first I start off with loading the bill, a PDF, and vectorizing it. It takes a little bit of a while to do the vectorizing, creates the vector store in Quadrant, and when it's ready, the chat window opens up. I can then ask a sequence of questions which are related to tax benefits for a musician like myself. And as I start digging further and further into the questions, it finds the relevant sections from the bill and responds appropriately. In this particular demo, you can change the LLMs, switching between Google AI and Vertex AI LLMs. So in the demo, I go through 4 questions, and you can see the responses. Something to think about, that Vertex AI Search actually offers ability to make quick RAG implementations, but this is a specific time-gated RAG. When I ask it to elaborate on this, the word "this" assumes that it knows the context here. And finally, to test that this is actually retrieving information and answering only from this PDF, I ask it a very random question, which it obviously doesn't know.